Jo March, the second oldest of the March sisters in Louisa May Alcott's Little Women, stands as one of the most beloved and enduring characters in American literature. Bold, brash, independent, and intellectually hungry, Jo has come to symbolize the tension between tradition and self-determination, between domestic duty and artistic ambition. As a semi-autobiographical representation of Alcott herself, Jo's journey is both deeply personal and profoundly universal, capturing the emotional complexity of growing up, carving one's identity, and negotiating womanhood in a society with narrow definitions of success and femininity. Role in the narrative. Jo is the central figure of Little Women. Her development forms the emotional and thematic backbone of the novel. From the opening chapters, where she declares her hatred of being a girl and rails against feminine expectations, to the novel's end, where she embraces love, family, and a literary career on her terms. Jo's arc is the richest and most nuanced. She begins as the tomboy sister, running wild, writing sensational stories, and rejecting the trappings of femininity. Her resistance to traditional gender roles is both endearing and radical, particularly in the context of the 19th century. Unlike Meg, who seeks a domestic life, or Amy, who pursues refinement and status, Jo desires freedom, intellectual, creative, and physical. Jo's close relationship with Laurie, her eventual rejection of his marriage proposal, and her evolving understanding of love are all pivotal to the plot. By refusing Laurie, Jo asserts her independence in a way that shocked some contemporary readers. Her decision marks a key moment in literature, where a female protagonist chooses personal integrity over romantic convention. Her relationship with her sisters, especially Beth, and with her mentor-turned-husband, Professor Bear, further shapes her narrative. Beth's death softens Jo's restlessness and deepens her emotional maturity, while Bear's encouragement guides her from sensational fiction to more heartfelt storytelling, mirroring Alcott's shift in literary style. Symbolic significance. Jo is a symbol of artistic aspiration, nonconformity, and woman independence. She represents the struggle of a woman who wants to live by her own rules in a world that constantly tries to define her by her gender. Her short hair, disdain for corsets, and desire to earn her living all challenge the 19th century ideal of womanhood. Jo also symbolizes the tension between ambition and domesticity. She loves her family fiercely, but she craves space and freedom to create. The attic becomes her symbolic retreat, a sacred space where she can escape expectations and immerse herself in her writing. In many ways, Jo's conflict is not about rejecting family or love, but about reconciling competing desires, to belong and to be free, to nurture and to create. Her writing is particularly symbolic. Early in the novel, Jo writes lurid, gothic tales that thrill readers but lack emotional depth. As she matures, especially after Beth's death, she begins to write more sincerely. This transformation mirrors Jo's inner growth and Alcott's own evolution as a writer. When Jo writes Little Women, or the fictional equivalent, it becomes an act of self-definition. She is no longer merely reacting to society. She is shaping her narrative. Furthermore, Jo symbolizes the possibility of a new model of womanhood. While she does marry by the novel's end, it is not a conventional marriage. She marries a poor, older intellectual who values her mind. She opens a school, writes books, and chooses a life of both love and independence. Her story is one of balance, not compromise. Broader implications. Jo March's character carries profound cultural and feminist implications. She speaks to generations of women who feel torn between societal expectations and personal dreams. In Jo, readers find a heroine who doesn't fit the mold but dares to break it, making her not only relatable but revolutionary. When Little Women was published in 1868 to 69, the options available to women were limited: marriage, spinsterhood, or dependency. Jo's rejection of Laurie and her ambition to become a writer challenged the dominant narrative that a woman's fulfillment could only come through romantic love. Instead, Jo seeks intellectual fulfillment, creative purpose, and emotional depth. Jo also invites a conversation about literary voice and authorship. When she decides to write a story from the heart, rather than what will sell, it reflects the struggle of all writers, especially women, to find and maintain authenticity in a commercial world. Jo's eventual success as an author is a robust validation of women's voices and their place in the literary canon. Moreover, Jo's development helps broaden the definition of heroism in literature. She is flawed, impulsive, hot-tempered, and sometimes selfish, but these imperfections make her real. Her growth is gradual, earned through loss, reflection, and hard-won wisdom. In a literary tradition full of idealized heroines, Jo stands out as authentically human. Conclusion: Jo March is the beating heart of Little Women, the character through whom Louisa May Alcott wrestles with art, ambition, gender, and the meaning of adulthood. She is not a perfect model of feminism or an archetype of rebellion. Instead, she is a complex, deeply relatable young woman navigating the constraints and contradictions of her world. Her role in the narrative is both central and dynamic, driving much of the action and emotional resonance of the story. Symbolically, she stands for the creative spirit, the yearning for freedom, and the evolving definition of womanhood. Her broader implications touch on literature, gender politics, and the enduring tension between personal desire and societal expectation. Jo's story does not offer easy answers. Instead, it celebrates the messy, courageous process of becoming oneself. In choosing to love on her terms, to write from her soul, and to live not as others would have her live, but as she must, Jo March becomes more than a character. She becomes a timeless emblem of integrity, imagination, and fierce authenticity.